Have you heard about the latest rut report for your area? I think rut reports suck. And I'm going to explain why. I'm sorry if you came here for a rut report. I don't think the title is going to be misleading on this one, because rut reports to me are just more of a catchy thing for podcasters and YouTube channels to talk about. That's why we've never done them. I could really care less what Bill says, 3 states away or 3 counties away as far as his observations of the rut. And I'll start with number 3 right here, bad hunting. This is why the rut doesn't mean a lot. When I say bad hunting, I say average hunting. It's not that the hours spent, years spent on different types of properties. We don't just hunt ag land here. I cut my teeth in Lower Michigan big woods hunting on public land, Pontiac Lake Recreation Area, Mount Holly, hunting up what used to be Independence Oaks County Park. It was neighborhood lots, permission on this 2 acres here, started migrating up to the Thumb area in Michigan, saw a lot more deer, but I'd hunted 80-acre field, meaning I hunted the 2-acre fence row along one of the sides. Hunted 120-acre field, but it was just 3 acres of thick cover down in the bottom where they couldn't farm. That's what I had to hunt. And then lived in the UP for 14 years, started hunting the UP in 87, 88, somewhere around there with friends, and then moved up there in 98. So hunted the UP for 22 years and still hunt there up on public land, hunted Pennsylvania public land since 93. So you get to have a lot of experience, and you get to see things from a different perspective. It's not all ag land, it's not all public land, it's not all big woods. You get to see things, and so you learn stuff. It's kind of like bringing someone into your company that comes from a different background. They bring different perspectives that can help your company. It's called diversity. And so when you hear someone say, my best bucks have come by doing this, then you don't know that their best bucks are two-year-old 8 points and a 3-year-old 10 point. And in perspective-wise, they're just saying their best bucks. It's really cool to throw that in on a discussion forum on Facebook, but you don't know where it's coming from. And so when hunters observe the rut that don't have a lot of experience in the field, just because they saw a buck chasing a doe doesn't mean the rut is on. We see bucks on our cameras chasing does that aren't in heat. They're just getting a little ruddy around the 18th of October. Doesn't mean the rut's on. So you have to have a little level of experience to understand what you're observing in the first place. And so when Joe Schmo is saying that the rut's on this phone call or this podcast, and then another one and another one and another one, what does it all really mean? Well, I'll talk about another one right here. You go to food, pressure, cover. If you don't have mature bucks where you hunt, you're going to see a start date for the rut probably 10 days later, 7 days later, because most young bucks don't know the game. They're not going to lay down dozens of rubs and scrapes or more like a mature buck will. So if you don't have mature bucks in your area, you might say the rut hasn't begun. The pre-rut hasn't started. It's October 25th, Lower Michigan. We're a neighbor 2 miles away. They've been experiencing rutting activities for a week. By November 1st, you haven't even seen it. You're saying the rut hasn't even started yet. And it's because they have older bucks on their property. Older bucks gravitate first to high quality food. Meaning if you have standing good crops, if you have a really good food source is not a clear cut. It's not acorns on your land. That can't sustain, build, grow a deer herd during the hunting season alone. Apple trees, apple orchard, can't do it by itself. You got to have quality food, whether it's food plots, ag fields, something that sets your land apart differently than every other property in the area as far as food level. It's not a 3 of food versus a 2. I would say like a 4 of food would be some apples and oaks on a property, where a 2 would be just oaks or just apples. Now add a quality food plot program, maybe you can get a 10 or an 8. Add that with clear cuts, with apples, with oaks, get the picture. You can get a really good stand of food. However, number 2 priority, you got to have that best food, but mature bucks will go to the best food with the least amount of pressure, hunting pressure. So they'll go to a 5 out of 10 if it's better than everything else in the neighborhood when there's 0 hunting pressure. They have a uncanny ability the older they become, because they're independent thinkers, unlike does, of figuring out where the least pressure areas are. And then finally, cover. A lot of people focus on cover, focus on habitat, but if you just have natural regeneration, good cover, that doesn't cut it in an area that has better food somewhere else and better hunting pressure. So if you have great habitat, but you don't have the food, the best food, then you're out. If you have great habitat, but you don't, and good cover, but you don't hunt well and you pressure your land, then it means nothing. It really means nothing. You're not going to be able to build a herd. You're not going to be able to grow a herd. You're not going to be able to advance a buck age class, anything. So you have to have it in this priority: food, pressure, cover. Because obviously with the food, you have some type of cover. And if you leave it alone, now that buck might live 500 yards away from that food, all day, because it's all open cover, meaning open hardwoods, mixed ag field CRPs type thing where they can just filter through. There's no hunting pressure, but they're not going to bed right up against it because it's so invasive. They can look right into the food 200 yards away, so they bed a lot further than that. Does will tolerate that closer. The bottom line is you don't have mature bucks in your area, and this happens to a lot of people. I call it the 5% club, but I look at it like 5% of the properties or less have mature bucks on their land regularly where they can observe them during daylight. Because at nighttime doesn't matter, because if your bucks are only coming in at night, you're probably not seeing them very frequently to begin with. And after they recognize your property as being a nocturnal property only, it only takes a generation or two where the mature bucks just don't even go on your land at all. Because if they don't want to go there during the daylight for some reason, lack of food, lack of good unpressured areas, and lack of cover, why are they going to go there at all? Your land becomes out of their wheelhouse of movement, even if you're only 2 properties removed from bucks that are 180, 200 that your neighbors are shooting. You never see them. So you have to have mature bucks, and therefore only 1 in 20 property owners during the daylight are going to see that mature buck behavior. Your 15 to 1 ratio of does to bucks is someone else's 1 to 1 or even 2 bucks for every doe ratio. Always remember that. Someone is seeing mature bucks or older bucks or the most bucks in the property. Whatever, maturity is all relative to hunting pressure, but your oldest bucks, they're seeing them and you're not during the daylight. I want to know that person's observation, because they're not going to see those daylight bucks if they exercise too much hunting pressure, if they don't have quality food sources or quality cover. So I want to see what's going on there. I don't want to focus on the other 19 or 20. So different than good advice, bad advice. I grew up shooting archery professionally at a high level for a long time. And when I went to get advice, I didn't go to the guy at Dunham Sporting Goods that was sitting behind the archery counter and ask him how to shoot. I went to Rick Hotchkiss, people, Kevin McLean, Todd Olson. I'm going to think about different names. My friend Tex Laidler, Myron, people like that I liked and looked up to as mentors getting into archery back in the day. Bill Evilsizer, Jim Morrow owned MJC Archery. He was my archery coach for a long time before he unfortunately passed away a few summers ago. Terrible. But anyways, I went to those people I saw do really well, and I wanted to know what they did, and I found consistently they gave the same advice. It wasn't like Bill Evilsizer had some way out of the way or off the wall thinking compared to Kevin McLean. These good shooters had a lot in common, and I wanted to be like them and shoot like them. And it's no different than with rut reports. You're going to find that 90%, 95% of the stuff out there is garbage. It's cool to hear, gets people excited, but is it really worth anything? And finally, when you throw in the moon, this is something that Dylan, brought up. The moon can be so misleading. The rut, we have phases of the rut. It happens every single year. It doesn't matter what the moon phase is. Does not matter what the moon phase is. And if you have a great weather day, we're already hunting. Yeah, maybe the moon adds another 5%, but we're already hunting. We don't care what the moon is. Just focus on the weather. Focus on weather, the good days to get out and sit. We're looking at breaks in the weather, temperature drops, breaks of extreme weather. You hunt on the back side of that, maybe a little bit on the front side. But once you learn to read the weather, then barometric pressure, moon, I don't really care about it because I'm already hunting during those times. The moon could be very, very misleading. And there's even books and articles, and I have some of those books going back to where the moon or the moon will dictate that the rut varies by what, Dylan, 3 weeks every year at least.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Where I'll look at someone like John Azoga's research in the UP of Michigan, where they ultrasounded 2,000 plus does for decades, deer kill along the side of the road, and they could see the exact date of conception, and it didn't vary more than 20% within a 2-week period, centered around November 11th in the UP of Michigan, or whatever that date is. The point is like a week either side, 80% of the bucks were bred right then. It didn't matter what the moon, there's no correlation to anything. However, what John told me back in the day, rutting behavior can be drastically different during warm, windy, unseasonably bad conditions. The breeding just takes place at night. Still the same exact timing, maybe just not the daylight movement. That's always stuck in my head. So the moonisms can really hurt you. Bad hunting advice. The no mature bucks in the area to begin with, that leads you down to a select few. And I'll tell you how ridiculous this is. Dylan had some little inside scoop on some people that write for national magazines. And you know what those national magazines do? And this is just one report, won't even mention the net magazine, but it's just like, rut timing. Let's write a big article.
Best days to hunt the rut.
Best days to hunt the rut. What did they do, Dylan?
They literally are just like, well, I don't know, we used this date last year, we should use this date this year. And they come up with the reasons afterwards on, it's just clickbait. It's just, let's give them something new to get them to look into this and get their eyes.
Let's pick November 18th, I think was the date, or whatever.
Yeah.
It was, let's just pick that and we'll draw up a rationale behind it.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Moon rut reports, I can't stand them for that reason, which is why we've never done them, because we only want to give you good information on this channel. Doesn't matter if it's habitat or hunting information, we want to give you good information. We're not making stuff up. It's based on decades of experience, a lot of time in the field in a variety of locations, and talking to you, the viewer, reader, listener, whatever it might be, times thousands. Seeing what you say in the comments below. And that's what all this is based on. We get paid for delivering good information. That's it. If it's not good information, then it sucks, just like most rut reports. We want to give good information. That's why we have our web classes. How to design your whitetail parcel, hunting the rut, hunting hills and thermals, food plots. I want to give good information out there. That's a way for you to absorb that in a 15, 18, 12 video segment web class. We have the books. All Weather Whitetails is a really good one, how it helps you how to navigate the rut based on the weather. But bottom line is, I want you to have good information. That's why I bring out some of this kind of stuff, because it's just, I feel bad for people that they fall for some of this stuff. And a lot of it goes back to when I was young, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'd have a week of vacation to burn. And I'd divide that out into 14 half days or 10 half days. So I could have 10 half days. I said 14 in another video, but it's 10 half days. So I would use those half days as wisely as I could. And I know how much back then, it wasn't just the time, it was the money too. If I was going to drive an hour and 45 minutes to go hunt, which I did, I wanted it to be a good investment of not only time, but money. So there's a lot of you out there that don't want to burn a lot of vacation time or don't have a lot to burn, then this kind of information is for you. I want the best information so you can navigate your vacation days. And there's a lot of you that you drive an hour and 45 minutes to hunt or drive an hour or a half hour. It's costing you money that you are really stressing about to actually spend and utilize for your most passionate thing besides your wife and kids and the Lord in your life. And so I want to make sure that you're exercising good decisions on all of that and you're getting the most out of your time and money, which is why we try to deliver this information to you. Pure and simple, because if it's not hitting to you and it doesn't make sense and it's not good, then why even bother? So really take this stuff with a grain of salt. The rut reports, we have the phases for the rut. We try to help you navigate the weather, know when to go sit, and try to give you good advice for hunting mornings, afternoons, evenings, where to sit during the rut, all so that you can shoot your best buck this year, have your best sit, see the most deer, and try to help you each and every day as you navigate not only the rut, the early season, the October lull, the late season, the second rut, but the entire deer hunting season each and every fall.